She said that American soccer fans, most of them aren't smart. They don't know the game. They don't understand.
Gio.
That guy Gazpacho.
Forbes could take a lame gorilla, okay?
Right, did you know that Arsenal died?
He's got me buzzing.
Up the top, it's hard to up him anyway.
I'm just not even gonna comment on that. Welcome back to Footy with the boys, and holy, we have a lot to talk about. The U.S. shit the bed in Atlanta, which is the new home of U.S. soccer, against Panama, a CONCACAF rival in Copa America. That leads us to previewing them against Uruguay in Kansas City for the signature win of Greg Berhalter and this generation of U.S. players as a must-win for them to continue in the tournament. Boys, we are going to get into a lot of it. There's a lot of takes I have, a lot of takes that really everybody in the U.S. community has had. Let's say a brief pause on that so we can all collect ourselves before it. Let's talk about the Euros here. The big news, England come back. They pulled a little U.S. versus Jamaica type action. Save yourself in the final second of the game. 90th plus 5 is actually the exact time. And then win it in extra time. Jude Bellingham, is the aura too much, Mike? Is that just undeniable? Is his aura too strong for Gareth Southgate?
Aura's too strong. Even Gareth Southgate can't put him down. 95th minute bike. That game stunk. England stunk the entire match. Horrible.
He stunk.
Yeah. And Jude Bellingham was pretty anonymous, and then he shows up with that, which is, I mean, a historic goal. Like, we're going to see that on replays forever. So, yeah, aura is everything for Jude Bellingham at the moment.
Aura is everything, and they almost still found their way out in the first round of the extremely easier side of the bracket for the Euros. Nick, Saka at left back happened in this game. Not great from Gareth Southgate there. But what's even worse is Italy. They are such an interesting national team. They missed the World Cups. They win the Euros in between that. And now they have a first-round exit of the Euros again. I mean, they're like a slaloming team. Would you take that to get a Euro championship and now have all this crazy bad results of not getting World Cups, not going far on Euros at all?
Italy played bad, but Switzerland was good, so I'm not going to put too much fault on them. I think Switzerland's looking really solid. But yeah, that's they won the Euros recently. That's a huge tournament. Credit to Italy. And even when they won the Euros, a lot of people were like, they were kind of down. And right now they're definitely rebuilding. So big win for Switzerland. Shout out to Granit Xhaka. Glad to see he's finally getting the recognition he deserves.
Yeah, Granit Xhaka only has lost 2 games in the last year since he left Arsenal. 1 with Leverkusen, 1 with Switzerland. So he's something else. We also have Germany and Spain now lined up as a matchup, and I tell you what, that's going to feed not families but countries, the world. That is going to be a hell of a matchup. Lamine Yamal versus Musiala, Verts, Kai Havertz, been in some good form. It's going to be a good one. But boys, it's time for the main event. As much as we want to run from it, it's not changing the result of what happened against Panama and Atlanta. The U.S., I'm sure as everybody watching this knows, lost 2-1. We'll go through a quick storyline here. It starts with a disallowed goal that Tim Ream was offsides before Wes McKennie put it away. That gets taken away by VAR. Then just 8 minutes later, Timothy Weah, oh my God, gets a red card, just shoves somebody in the back of the head, gets sent off. We're sent down to 10 men. But the U.S. respond rather well to being down 10 men with Anthony Robinson attacking up the wing, combining with Balogun. Not sure if it's really combining, but they played it off of each other and kind of bounced around. Balogun with an absolute fucking banger with the left foot off the bar or off the post and in. But then, boys, 4 minutes later, the U.S. allows them to score. And then at halftime, Greg Berhalter says, that's it. It is 1-1. That's all we want. We are sitting back. We're doing a 5-back. We're bringing in a center back. And it was just Panama attacking for 45 minutes, really. They end up breaking through in the 83rd minute. A big thing to note is that Coco Carrasquilla did get a red card there in the 88th minute. So that does somewhat impact what Panama will be able to do against Bolivia in terms of running up the score, but Bolivia sucked. So I don't think it's going to impact it that much. It very much so impacts the U.S. here, boys. Panama turned into a dogfight. It was what is expected. It's a CONCACAF rival. It is what anybody knowing anything about either of these teams knew this game was going to be, and Weah fell right into it. Nick, is this all on Weah here, that red card, or is it something of, hey, you have to let your players know and get your players mentally right? Because as people have been pointing out, this is not a mental lapse that happened once for the U.S. It is Serginho Dest's red card. It is Tim Weah's red card. It's Weston McKennie and Serginho Dest's red card in the Mexico game. There seems to be a lot of disciplinary temper issues within this culture that Greg Berhalter has set as a brotherhood and so great, and the reason why he's there.
No, listen. We're pretty biased against Greg Berhalter on this podcast, and we're going to talk about Greg a little bit later. But I mean, this is entirely on Timmy Weah with just one of the stupidest fuck all decisions that you could possibly make in an enormous game. To me, like, maybe the only way you could think that it's not Timmy, it's like maybe Greg didn't like emphasize how important the game was, because like a point would have been a disappointment, and 3 points was needed heading into the Uruguay game, and for him to do that almost makes me look like he was just kind of like, oh, we're just fighting a team of thugs, and we're gonna win this game regardless. So maybe you could say from something there, but everyone talked about it, that they knew going into this game. Like, players have come out and say it. Greg said it immediately post-match. They talked about how this was going to be a choppy game, that this ref is pretty quick on the trigger, which he didn't need to be for this, by the way. That is the easiest red card that anyone will ever give, and he didn't even give it at first. So this one is entirely squarely on the shoulders of Timmy Weah with a very, very stupid decision. I know he's been getting trashed left and right on TV and on different pundit stuff, but he deserves it. He deserves it right now. It is a stupid, stupid decision to make, and that is not only not needed, but like the initial contact from the Panama player wasn't really that big of a deal. Greg kind of called it retaliatory. Like, no, it wasn't, dude. You're just being a fucking idiot. You cost your team. There was things later in the game. We could have still salvaged something, and we'll get into that. But really, they made a mountain out of a molehill immediately as soon as Timmy does this, and it costs its team enormously. I saw Hercules Gomez talking about, like, I don't know how you like look at some of these players in the face. I know Timmy like apologizing from the team in the locker room after, but that, I mean, the feeling, if they get grouped, that feeling is not going anywhere for a long time for Timmy Weah, in my opinion. So I'm putting that part specifically and a pretty big chunk of this result on Timmy Weah's shoulders.
And Mike, he did come out with that apology saying that it was out of character and he can never forgive himself, and you know, all these things about how he's so deeply sorry for this. But at the end of the day, yes, he is usually a mild-mannered guy, is not that much of a hothead. But regardless, this happened, and he did get a red card that is going to potentially group the U.S. in a home Copa America against a Panama side that within those first 17 minutes before that, they looked like they were going to dominate that game. How long does it take you as a fan to trust Tim Weah again? He has a 2-game suspension, so not just the 1 game from the red card. He will miss 2. But how long until you should trust Tim Weah to start again? Because it's not like he was Christian Pulisic level, oh, he's our star, he needs to be in there. Or even a Serginho Dest where it's like, hey, there's a massive drop-off. It is, Tim Weah has been just kind of that stalwart, but I don't think he's necessarily locked that spot in.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if he's a starter or what his position really in the team is, impact-wise. It all hurts the same with a red card, and you're letting your team down, right? If the star did it, maybe I'd feel even worse about it, but it just feels like you kind of got betrayed. We lost our heads. We played into Panama's game plan, and you can't do that in a national tournament or international tournament. You have to stay focused, even more so than a regular match. And that just shows a lack of focus, frustration, and letting his team down big time. As a fan, I don't know. I'm not going to hold like long-term grudges. That feels weird. But like a few games or something.
I kind of,
R.I.P. dude.
Oh, and he's back. We lost you there for a second. Mike, Nick, what were you saying?
no, I think it's right that like it is kind of weird to hold grudges, and like from a fan perspective, when he's gonna start games for Greg again, because we'll talk about that later. But Greg's not going nowhere. But we'll see him start games for Greg again. It's not about us. It's about the people around him. And I know it's like a really tight knit group, but it is going to be really, really embarrassing tomorrow night when the United States is watching Panama and Uruguay go through to the next round. Like it's going to, I think it's going to crush morale.
In a home tournament at that.
In a home tournament in the middle of your golden generation. And everyone's saying preparation for the next World Cup. This is how you prepared. So I just don't know. It's not going to linger for me. I don't give a shit. If he plays well, then we're good. But I wonder if it lingers with the squad a little bit, if they look at him a little bit different, and if that offsets anything. Now, there's a lot of really great leaders in the team. Maybe there won't be that, but I don't know. It just really makes me wonder about his position in the camp.
I do wonder, because I think it's almost like a Wondolowski in the World Cup situation, but on a much larger scale. Where it's like you do remember, oh my God, Wondolowski, if he would have finished that. It's always a what if he would have. It's what if Tim Weah wouldn't have just punched a man in the back of the head. And you might not, have anything against. I don't have anything against Wondolowski personally. I'm never going to root against him. I would root for him if he played for the U.S. But with Tim Weah, it is going to be always in the back of your head if this ends up being what groups them of, hey, Tim Weah costed us really a Copa America run, seeing what we could do, trying to get to a knockout game, seeing if we could get that experience. And I think that in terms of fans, in terms of players, yeah, you might not hold it against them or hold a grudge, but it is going to be something that you consciously think, oh yeah, that's what I am somewhat remembering Tim Weah from. Because that is massive.
Think about it from this perspective. Let's say, miracles come true and we beat Uruguay, we're through, we beat Colombia, whatever. Are you starting Timmy in a semifinal? I think there's no way, especially if you just won 2 huge games.
If we just won 2 games without Tim Weah, we are sticking with that exact damn lineup.
So immediately his position in the camp is impacted pretty heavily. I think it's something that's going to cost him.
That's how it should be. That's how a competitive national team is.
Yeah, no, I guess I agree.
We get to a semifinal. Whoever's playing in Tim Weah's position is absolutely balling. We're not getting to a semifinal with some scrub on the right wing. So it's going to be hard to overtake, and the trust and a lot of those reasons why he probably won't come right back in.
Yeah. Boys, we'll get into the Greg Berhalter, whether he should stay, whether he should go, and if he will stay or if he will go a little bit later on. We'll also get into the Uruguay preview. But first, I wanted to bring up Greg Berhalter in terms of tactics here. At the halftime, he made 3 subs. Matt Turner, one off of an injury after a non-yellow card of Blackman absolutely just trucking through him as he's in the air. A lot of bad refereeing decisions in this one, but that is certainly one. Matt Turner taken off for Ethan Horvath. Gio Reyna taken off for Cameron Carter-Vickers to come in as a third center back. And then we also had Johnny coming on for Tyler Adams. That was a minutes restriction. This has been probably the part that people have talked about the most in terms of this game, other than the red card, is because Greg Berhalter at halftime really said it. We're going to sit back and allow a team to attack us for 45 minutes and just try and hold out a draw. A lot of people feel that we should have kept going with what we were doing. We had decent amount of opportunities to score when we were playing that 4-4-1. A lot of people say that Cameron Carter-Vickers should never touch the field again for the U.S. because he was...
I think you said that.
Pretty personally, I am not alone in that one. But he was, shockingly bad. The last goal, he was 2 yards off of his mark. He's marking space, not the man, and that's never good as a center back. And overall, the defense just... It wasn't amazing in this one, Nick. We weren't able to possess. We weren't able to get it out of there. And a lot of that is on credit to Thomas Christensen in Panama. He moved to 5 attackers the second we went to a 5 back, and that completely made Greg's tactic of having a 5-back inept. They couldn't get the ball up. There were so many people they had to break through. And then you're just relying on Christian Pulisic or Balogun to dribble 5 people for any type of chance. And they did that once or 2 times. But what do we make of the move to the 5-back here, Mike?
I thought it was a solid idea. I thought it might work out. I saw the vision behind it. But I thought the personnel choices were either incorrect or bit us in the ass. Didn't think the Johnny substitution was very good. I thought Musah should have came into the game at halftime. And if you're going to play with a 5-back and you want a quick transition player in the midfield, he's your best guy, like, period. And then Cameron Carter-Vickers comes in. I didn't hate that. I think he's probably our best center back option on the bench. But I wouldn't have put him in the middle. I would have put Chris Richards or Tim Ream, either one of them, a stronger defender who's not as rash. Because Cameron Carter-Vickers had 3 times where he looked like he'd give up a foul. I mean, the slide tackle that ended up being a flop, the turnaround after he got megged, and then being loose on that tracker. I mean, he was terrible, like awful, all-time bad performance. It looked like it might pan out, looked like we might get the draw. That would have been good enough. And then it bit us in the ass. And Greg made the worst substitution of the match, taking off Balogun after he created something out of nothing. And brings on Ricardo Pepi, who can't do anything without service, and we have no guys out there.
Get Pepi the fuck out of this national team setup, please. I'm so sick of Ricardo. No. I'm so sick of it. He looked so shit against Bolivia. How horrible was he against Bolivia? Missed 3 sitters against Bolivia. Are you insane?
The runs he was making, though, he created those chances. I would like get him out of the squad.
We could have scored 3 goals with any other person there at the 9. He didn't score them. That's huge, especially now when goal difference is going to be so big.
That's a massive overreaction to say get him out of the squad.
I'm so sick of Ricardo. I'm so sick of him. I don't know why he's playing in 4 minutes.
Give Haji Wright a chance, yes.
Fine, bury him in the squad. I don't give a fuck. I just don't want to see him playing, dude. He's so bad. Oh my God.
All right, that's a bit harsh on Pepi to say he's so bad. But I do agree that, Nick, that is the point that I do want to ask you about is we have seen Haji Wright save potentially Greg Berhalter's job already with the Jamaica game, coming in, scoring 2 goals in extra time. He's been a difference maker even in the Colombia game. He looked the best player for the first 15 minutes of the second half on the U.S. squad. Where the hell is he? Because now when we're needing a hero, and it's not a friendly, or it's not Nations League and CONCACAF, Haji Wright is nowhere to be found. We have Josh Sargent coming on with 5 minutes left. We have Pepi coming in every single time. Where's the Josh Sargent, who's been one of the hottest scorers in the championship? Where's Haji Wright, who's been one of the hottest scorers for this U.S. men's national team? And even at that, like Mike said, why are you taking Balogun off? I mean, where's the man management here from Greg Berhalter to make any of the right decisions?
Listen, I'm going to put a lot of this loss squarely on Timmy Weah's shoulders, and I think that's fair. But from the second that this game went 10 versus 11, Greg got every single decision wrong. Every single decision wrong. I don't know how you're watching that first half where we still have some chances. Yes, we're defending more. Duh, we have 10 people, but we're still kind of catching on the break. It wasn't a penalty, but there were some penalty shouts for Pulisic in the box. It wasn't, but there was shouts. We still looked like we had some sort of threat with the way that we were playing. And I understand looking at the big picture and saying, okay, we need at least a draw out of this in order to get through. I get that. But aren't you watching the goddamn game? Like, you have to understand the flow of the game. You have to understand your players. You guys know me. I'm a big Johnny guy. How the hell do you take Tyler Adams off the pitch when this is 45 minutes where you need a dog? You need a warrior to grind out 45 minutes and get a huge result. And you take off the captain? You take off Tyler Adams, who I mean, not only looked good, but that bite, that intensity is what we've been missing since he's been gone. I think that was ridiculous. I think you leave him on. I understand you wanted to bring Eunice on. Cameron Carter-Vickers, good job playing well in Scotland, I guess. I don't give a shit. You're horrible. You also shouldn't be on the field. Because how are you getting turned in mag at just every single opportunity?
Every single time.
Every opportunity. I think it should have been a penalty. The lunge across the butt, not the dive where the guy
the one we
flopped.
got magged.
I think when he lunged, I
yeah.
think that was a penalty. And I
was
think they
scared.
got really lucky that wasn't. I mean, it doesn't matter at the end because we still fucking lost. But horrible decision there. And again, Balo has been your best player this tournament so far, arguably. It's him or Pulisic. He's scored 2 incredible goals. How, when you need this game, you need it, and you're taking him off and putting on a guy who missed 3 sitters like 4 days ago. What are we doing, Greg? It felt like stupid decisions. You leave Haji on the bench. You bring on Sargent, it feels like to satisfy people on Twitter. Like, I think he probably checked his phone. Was like, oh, there's like he's got some Southgate syndrome playing Saka at left back. Let's give Sargent his first 6 minutes in like 6 months. Like, what the hell are you talking about? So I think he royally messed it up. I think the goal was not his fault. The 1-1 was not his fault because, I mean, that center back partnership that Mike and I talk so much about.
Dog shit.
Oh, horrible to not get that ball out of there. And honestly, a little bit of a weak goal, but whatever. Every decision from there on out, Greg got it wrong. And again, most of this is on Timmy's shoulders. I think we dominated this game 11 versus 11, as we saw in the first 15 minutes. But it just once again shows his incompetency and why he shouldn't be, like, he needs to step down. I don't think they're going to fire him. Will he have, we'll talk about it in a second, but I think he needs to step down.
Yep. Well, that is somewhat of what we're getting into here is Tim Weah certainly did change the game, and there's a lot of blame to go towards him, but Greg Berhalter still had then 70 plus minutes to make changes that would make a U.S. side that is wildly more talented than this Panama squad with one less player come out with a result, just a draw or a win, and he sat back, allowed them to attack. And then after the game, Nick, he did a little old Eric Ten Hag type press conference where he doesn't take responsibility. He continues to just kind of pass around that blame, talking about how he blamed players previously. He does it again. He said something about, oh, Tim Weah got that red card, and that led to us having this type of result. Like, he knows that he's like at cause, and it's like, yes, he is at cause, but you're a coach. You don't throw a player under the bus, even if he kicked in 2 own goals. And then he also said that the refereeing was terrible and didn't think there was refereed right, and we played right into the hands of the referee because he was not refereeing how they should. It is absurd how this man does not take responsibility. And then, as reporters directly asked him, is your job security on the line here? You need a win here. He said, that's not for me to decide. I feel good. Like, this man has zero semblance of responsibility in saying, yes, I should get through this group. I should do this. Even Gareth Southgate, who we can all clown on, said, if I don't win this Euros, I should be out. You have expectations, Greg Berhalter. And this was the lowest one, is getting out of the group. Now you're forced to make a signature win. And Mike, with that, should the U.S. fire Greg Berhalter if they lose this? Should they fire him if they win this? And more importantly, will they, do you think?
Yes, no. They should fire him. If he wins, if he loses, will they? Certainly not.
Yep. And Nick, I think that's somewhat of the cases. Greg Berhalter has, to his credit, done the least amount that you need to do to continue to have your job. He has enough on the resume to make U.S. soccer feel happy with it. He's like, oh, well, we almost lost to Trinidad and Tobago in a 2-legged draw because who the fuck knows why? And then you say, oh, well, we almost lost to Jamaica, but we had an own goal in the 90th plus 5 minutes, so that's okay. And then you also have this game versus Panama, and you have the game versus Colombia, but then you have the draw versus Brazil, and that made everything all right. Nick, what else could it take for the U.S. Soccer Federation to get rid of Greg Berhalter than getting grouped in a home tournament in probably the easiest group that they could have other than the Uruguay game?
Listen, it is What's the name of the bald guy on ESPN FC? Like big, kind of hunky bald guy. He does it with Hercules Gomez. You know what I'm talking about?
Booger
Some guy
McFarland.
on ESPN FC.
Oh, Casey Keller?
Is that him?
The
The
goalkeeper.
I don't know.
American?
Yeah.
Or Alejandro Moreno?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. Let's say Casey Keller. Okay. Casey Keller is coming out here talking about like budget constraints of how Greg Berhalter can't be fired. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Cannot believe the state of U.S. soccer that this man is not only the best option after you fired him and brought him back, but that now, as you see, like, okay, whatever, you think it was the best, but now we have more evidence that shows that he isn't. In fact, that we've gone downhill. We qualified in the World Cup. We passed our group. To not get past our group, let's be realistic, boys. It's not happening tomorrow night. It's just not. And I know,
Dude, don't say
the
that.
three of you are going to the Uruguay game, and I'm gonna be rooting my ass off for USA. But have you seen how Uruguay is playing? Do you see this fucking bald manager? There is no chance that we're getting grouped on home soil. That is
Fuck,
going to
dude.
be real. And the outrage that's going to happen when Greg just continues to be at the helm and Pulisic says like, oh yeah, we kind of like him. And the U.S. Soccer Federation says we made progress when we've actually not even stagnated, we've regressed, is going to be so, I mean, it is going to be infuriating. And so that is a reality that we have to prepare ourselves for, because the Federation has showed that they do not have the ambition to even host a good tournament. The fucking fields are horrible everywhere in Copa America. Who knows if that's going to do better in the 2026 World Cup. But then to have this guy lead an extremely talented group of players, it just feels like, oh, there's hype. We're going to ride the hype, and we're not actually going to put real resources behind it to make sure that we achieve to the highest level that we can. And so it's incredibly frustrating. It's infuriating. And ultimately, it's why U.S. soccer is not going to be able to progress. It's just not.
It is insanely frustrating. Nick, I just want to talk on that budget point, because Brian McBride, who used to be an executive in U.S. soccer, touched on that on the Call It What You Want podcast with Charlie Davies and Jimmy Conrad. They talked about the U.S. soccer pay structure and how you need to match it with the women's coach and how it's all kind of donor based. And actually somebody on our Twitter responded to us talking about money and said that the U.S. in their financial statements are posting about like a $30 million loss for their operating costs. So they are not a well-run organization by any means.
Really?
But this is a $1 million, 1.3, I believe is the actual amount, $1.3 million contract, which does make Emma Hayes the most highly paid women's coach in the world. But Greg Berhalter, he's not up there, but he's also not the lowest. It is not, oh, Greg Berhalter is the best we can do. A so-so MLS coach that couldn't hack it in the Swedish second division is not the best we can do. We can get a Irv Renard. We can get like 50,000 other people that are at that level. And also, if you want to bring in a big name, this is the United States of fucking America. We can find a donor. We just had Arthur Blank write a like $60 million check for Atlanta to be the new headquarters of U.S. soccer. If you don't think that you can find one person in the billions of dollars you need to invest to make an MLS franchise, in the billions of dollars that are just in people who are soccer fans in the U.S., Todd Bowley is willing to spend billions on random
Canada
players.
did, dude. Come
People
on.
will fucking
Like,
help out.
Yeah,
Yeah, Canada
Sell
has
out.
3 fucking teams, and they got Jesse Marsh, who just got them into the fucking knockouts, which Greg Berhalter looks like he can't do. So if we're talking about money, and we're talking about how you can't fundraise, you can't do this, shut the fuck up, because you absolutely can. This is the USA. This is the most gigantic fucking marketing scheme you can do. Literally, if you have a top name coach, you are going to get it paid for. Do the fucking Colorado football method. Get a big name and figure out how to fucking pay them later, because you're going to get the sponsors. Now then, let's get into a Uruguay game here, because that is still our last chance of getting into the knockout stage. Mike, this is a signature game. Something that Greg Berhalter does not have. He has signature draws. It is the England game that obviously Gareth Southgate now not looking too hot, and the Brazil draw that just happened in a friendly, which
in a
then
friendly.
they drew against Yeah, and then they
Can
drew
we
against
stop talking
Costa
about
Rica.
Brazil, please?
So
it's
it makes
friendly.
these things that Greg Berhalter will point at not impressive at all. This would be an impressive matchup. How likely do you think it is that the U.S. can pull this one off against Uruguay?
Very unlikely. It's just the fact. Uruguay's
says it's
nasty.
close, dude.
They're super good. Darwin Nunez is going to mess up our center backs. Tim Ream's going to have a day trying to stay with that guy. And I'm not so sure that Greg will get anything right this game, especially with the attack. I don't know who the hell he's going to start at right wing, but he'll probably mess it up.
Who would you have, Mike?
I would probably do Pulisic and then Haji right at left wing.
I think I would go that way as well. Nick?
Yeah, and you need to mentally prepare yourself because I think Gio's holding bench flags.
Or he could start at right wing.
He could start at right wing. I think you absolutely need Musah in this game. He is so press resistant, and Uruguay is going to press like crazy. I think you take Wes McKennie out if.
Listen, so here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Adams.
Again, there is not. They're not going to do it. We're getting group tomorrow, so I just want you. We're going to mentally prepare ourselves for that. That being said, the style of football that Uruguay plays and Marcelo Bielsa plays gives us a chance. Because the one thing forget the manager, forget all this stupidity. The one thing we do have is talent, and so the man marking, high pressing system that they constantly play gives us a chance that if the guys perform individually at such a high level, it might be enough to be able to pull out a result. Again, it's not going to happen. I'm just saying that when you saw Panama come out in that second half, right? Like they were playing a lot more direct, just bypassing the press. Well, you have Pulisic, Haji, and Balo running back there. I think you have a chance. If Eunice just does one of those little like shift of weight, half turn, and is able to bypass the press in the midfield, that's a real counter that can be started, and we have real quality. It's going to feel very suffocating. It's going to feel very suffocating, and it's going to take some really nervy defending, which is why I know that we won't get a result. Our defense sucks cock, and it's so bad right now. And I can't believe. I think at one point earlier this year we had a pod where we talked our center backs as like maybe the position of depth on the U.S. men's national team. I don't trust in any of them right now, even Chris Richards. So
Chris Richards has been poor. That is.
It's not gonna happen. But like there is a way. There is a way. I think.
Well, I think you kind of laid out that way, and Uruguay themselves, they are second in CONMEBOL. They are insanely good right now. Marcelo Bielsa came in, who could have been the U.S. men's national team coach. He goes to Uruguay instead because we want somebody who is primarily speaking English. Great job, U.S. Soccer. Definitely dodged a bullet on Marcelo Bielsa. We wouldn't want what Uruguay's doing. They are just murdering teams. Their press is insane. He has gotten them looking amazing. But as Nick said, Panama did give us a bit of a blueprint that might help us out here. So although Panama fucked us last game, they also somewhat help us in this one to know the possession style that Thomas Christensen had Panama playing in the first half was not working. It was getting pressed like crazy. Uruguay was having a lot more success. In the second half, when they played more direct, when they played over the lines, over the press, didn't try and play cheeky, it was a lot more successful for Panama. Obviously, they still don't win because Uruguay is insanely good, and they didn't have some idiot punch somebody in the back of the head to make it 10 versus 11. But that is technically the blueprint here. Mike, Balogun's been a star for the U.S. in this first two games of the group stage. Leading scorer of Copa America, tied with two other people. How important is he in this one? Obviously, Pulisic, but are they on equal levels of importance for this one?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, the dude who's banging in the goals is the most important man on the team, and that's Balogun at the moment. He's undroppable, untouchable, and really should be playing a full 90, I think. Like, none of these other forward options.
I see Pepe come on.
Oh my God. Is gassed to be touching the field.
Yeah, I think at this point you got to go with Sargent. If Pepe hasn't scored in these appearances, you got to
Seriously.
give Sargent a chance off the bench. But that does beg the question of, I believe we kind of said that maybe that Pulisic, Balogun, Haji Wright starting front three. The midfield, I think we've all said Musah. Who else is in that midfield with him? Is it Reyna? Is it Adams? It's going to be about 90-something degrees out. So do you trust Adams and his potential minutes restrictions holding up against the Heat there?
Got to start.
Shut up. Yeah, minutes restriction? Are you kidding me? It is do or die. I don't give a shit. Care if it's 90 degrees. Are you insane? Like, everything has to be put on the line for this game just to not embarrass yourself. And then we're going to fucking lose against Colombia, and it's still going to be an embarrassment. Like, that is what you're fighting for? We're not doing 45 minutes of highlight. Like, everything has to be put out there right now. You are fighting for your country in a major tournament that you are hosting. So, to me, I think you drop Gio. I think that he's shown a lot of fight, a lot of credit to him, but I just think Eunice, Tyler, and Weston have more fight in general. They're more sturdy, and you're just going to need like kind of guys to really, really get in there. And Gio has, to be fair, but that's the midfield I'd go with, especially when it worked against England. Again, fucking 2 years ago now, a draw, but still. And that's why I think Haji's so important and why you don't put Gio at the wing, because I think you're going to need some height along the line. Pulisic and Balogun are small, and they're not going to win that many balls. So you need to kind of have a little bit of an outlet. The back line of Uruguay, they're only starting one center back. The other center back, Oliveira, is actually like a left back for Getafe or someone in Spain, I think. And so like they're really, really quick. I don't know how often you're gonna be able to just straight out pace them. So I think you're gonna need Haji there for a little bit of a bigger body and still pace. So that's what I would go with that midfield three and that starting three up top.
Mike, I think for me, I'd say Adams, Musah, and Reyna. You want Adams because he's a fucking dog. If Greg Berhalter takes him off at halftime, I'm going to lose my mind. If he has the minute restrictions, don't play him. You cannot waste a sub in this big of a tournament on, minute restrictions, we need to get him out. No, if he's playing, he's got to fucking play. But I go Musah and Reyna. I think they're the most press resistant. I think the stat is for Reyna, we haven't scored a goal with him off the field in like 7 games. So I want to make sure he's on the field with that being known. What are you going with? Are you going more towards Nick's MMA, or are you going for the Musah, Reyna, Adams?
You know, if something happens on the field that you don't like, Flags, you may have a good chance to get out there and punch Greg Berhalter in the face.
I will make no comment on that, as we'll release it before we're there, but we will be releasing the blog, and if something happens.
I'm riding with MMA. I could fit Reyna in there if I throw him on the wing and you want that style of attack, but I need Weston in the midfield with Musah and Adams. I think the physicality is a big part, having Weston out there. He's going to body up with these guys well. He's not as great on the ball as Reyna, obviously. Different style, but like some of his power runs, we even saw it a little bit against Panama. Those are huge, and he can shrug a guy off and still play a ball in. So for the context of the game, I think it's going to be kind of chippy at points. I want Weston in there.
Yep. And then back line, I'd love to ask you guys if we would switch anything.
Just a hope and a prayer.
I think the only thing we're just hoping for a little bit more, and Christopher Lund, maybe?
Okay, yeah.
Dude, Miles Robinson.
It's
could be worse than the rest of the guys.
Stop, not Miles Robinson.
No.
He's been good for the
No, you ride with the same back four, dude. You just have to. You don't like you gotta get hopefully Timmy turns back the clock. Hopefully Chris Richards plays maybe how some people think he can. I don't know, but you have to do the same back four. There's the other options have proven themselves not to be it.
Chris Richards has gotten Palmer, I swear to God, if you mention that name again, there's gonna be issues. I think with Chris Richards, he's gotten a bit of a habit of just kind of kicking it back to the keeper without picking his head up. And there's been a few instances of that where I'm like, holy shit, that is awfully close to a defender. Boys, one final thought that's been kind of going around on the Twitterverse about Mr. McKennie here is that there was people spotting him out at a hookah lounge just a couple hours after the big loss to Panama. Everybody on this team is adults. They can do what they want. But do you find it at all frustrating from a fan perspective that a player like this, so integral to the team, is fine enough to bring himself to a hookah lounge following such a disappointing result? Mike?
He probably wanted to just chill out, hang out after that one. That game sucked. So I kind of get it on a human perspective. It's not like the greatest look in the world, obviously, but I don't really care.
Nick?
It's just a lack of self-awareness, brother. What are you doing? Like, especially, I know it looks like it's probably not true, but like with the rumors that he flew out to Cincinnati last weekend and now he's at a hookah bar this weekend, like, it's just a bad look, bro. Just put your head down. You know you're gonna have to get to work. I get wanting to detox. How about do that somewhere that isn't public and has a million phones? Like, just go take a deep breath in the hotel, bro. It doesn't have to be out to a hookah bar. So, I mean, ultimately doesn't matter, no, but it's a bad look.
Yeah, I think the PR there is maybe not the greatest.
Seriously.
Wes McKennie is not getting the most positive lighting on social media, and I think a lot of that has been to do with his play recently. People are trying to bring him down because he hasn't been performing quite as well as maybe he should be on the field. Last game, I will say that he performed a little bit better than he had in previous ones. To close us off here, boys, let's do some score predictions. Like we said, we'll be there at the game in Kansas City tomorrow. We'll be vlogging it, so we'll have that up on the channel as well. Make sure you subscribe, like, and comment what you think is going to happen here. Let's get some score predictions from us, boys. I will kick us off, and I'm going to say 2-1 US motherfucking A, baby. Mike?
3-0 to the good. Let's go USA.
Yeah,
Amen.
baby.
3-1 Uruguay.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay.
He's a Colombian spy, this guy.
Technically, we can still get in with a loss if Bolivia then beat Panama. Biggest issue there is
Loser
Bolivia
talk.
sucks.
We got better chance.
Bolivia sucks.
Loser talk. Loser talk.
Bolivia's
Going
bad.
through
Nick, you should be
those
rooting for us
possibilities.
one way or another because you both want the U.S. to win and you want to play the U.S. if you're Colombia.
No, he'd much rather play Panama.
I don't want to play US. I would a million percent rather play Panama. That Panama is not as hard of a game as USA made it look. Like we'll shit on Panama. Shout out to Los Cafeteros, 6 points through 6 points, looking to close strong in San Jose, in Santa Clara on Tuesday against Brazil.
San Jose. Big game. Big game there.
Yeah.
Keep in touch here on the YouTube. Keep in touch on the Instagram, the TikToker, the Tweeter. Follow us on all there. Turn on notifications. Be ready for a vlog, a victory vlog from Kansas City coming up. Knock on wood, everybody. Put spoons under your pillows. Flush some ice cubes in the toilet. Whatever we need to do for some good luck. And we will see you then. Peace.
Peace.